What do you think we could all do to be better humans tomorrow and have better backs?
Make yourself your own VIP and take it seriously. You are the priority. Your body, your mind, your health, it's all up to you. And I always say, if you don't take care of your body, someone else will. Get a workout calendar and put your exercise routine in it for 5 or 6 days a week and check it off when you do it. Make it as important as you would a doctor's appointment. And then you'll feel so much better about yourself. You'll be able to help your family with whatever they need, and you will be a better human.
Welcome back to the Better Human Podcast. Like usual, we always have amazing guests. This week, we have an awesome conversation about backs. We have Roberta Bergman, who is the founder of Body Formula, who's a health, fitness, and lifestyle company, but really known to be the author of Back on Track, the exercise guide to healing your back, and really takes a holistic approach to healing your back and to strengthening the back. And for my audience, I think some of you have known this, but I've had back issues for years, and actually recently had back surgery in January, which I've been avoiding and trying to put off for a long time. And I said to Roberta before we started to record, man, we should have done this maybe 6-8 months ago, because I could probably use some tips and advice. Besides being an amazing author and she's going to help us understand how to heal our backs, she's also dedicated her life to helping others be fit, healthy, and happy, with an emphasis on strengthening the back and the core to prevent the neck and the back pain, which if any of you in the audience have ever thrown out your back, in quotations, thrown out your back, that's kind of the thing that we say, you know how debilitating it is, or even that frozen shoulder or that sort of neck injury. And it's one thing that we gotta look after. So that's what we're going to get in today. Roberta, welcome to the show. Thank you so much, Greg. You're welcome. Well, I was telling you a little bit of my story, which was, back in 2017, so back up. So I grew up, my father had back issues, my grandfather had back issues, and it was just a conversation that was always had, which is, as with men, we have back issues, and you kind of take it for granted, specifically when you're younger. Anyway, 2017, I'm moving houses, and I have these giant planters filled with soil, and I decide to gingerly tip them and to move them like the ancient Egyptians did, with major giant rocks. And long story short, I pushed the wrong way, and I hear pop, pop. And that was the beginning of a really rough year, where I was unable to walk. And when I was walking, I was in the S shape, couldn't pick anything up, couldn't bend. We were just about to have our second kid, moving houses. My poor wife actually had to deal with a lot of that stuff, 9 months pregnant. And then was in a doctor's office with a surgeon. And he said to me, listen, man, like, you're a young guy, backs heal, the body heals. I don't think you should get surgery. I think you should go check out physio, and you should get into, for me, it was swimming and potentially stretching and yoga, and run with that for the next few months and see if that helps, which it drastically did, specifically the physio and the swimming. Anyway, I was good for years. And then it was last August. I was in the gym, decided to do a deadlift, and went pop. And that was just the beginning of what my neurosurgeon told me, which was the disc had degenerated and slipped out of the vertebrae, L4, and was sitting on the nerve stem. And the sciatica, I couldn't feel my foot. My hip was on fire, the leg, front, back. It was agony. It was so debilitating. It prevented work and just, living. And that was the reason I decided to get the surgery. Well, I had to, right? It wasn't an option. But what I did, which was really interesting, and this, we could kind of focus the conversation a little bit around today, which is more around what do we do to prevent these types of injuries. Right. I was introduced to stem cells, and shout out to RMI, which is Regenerative Medicine Institute down here in Costa Rica. And they did stem cells in my back, and as an experiment, or a first time, did stem cells directly into my L5 disc to see if we can help regenerate that. And I got to tell you, it was a game changer. But today, I'm hypersensitive and interested in what I could continue to do to build my back, to strengthen it, to make sure it's healthy, all that kind of good stuff. So, why don't we kick off with that? Why don't we kick off with the sort of first big question, which is, what causes back pain? I mean, what are some of the leading causes for back injuries or just back pain in general?
Well, you're describing it the way you lifted your objects. That's called incorrect body mechanics. If you're lifting something heavy and leaning forward over it, drooping your whole spine downward, it's going to cascade down. And then when you come up, with a heavy object, you're going to pull your back out. Another way of pulling the back out is to twist without moving your hips. So your hips are here, but your body's here. It's another way of using your body incorrectly. So the way to improve your body mechanics is to keep any object you're lifting close to your body. And I'm going to stand up. So you would, like a forklift, pull your elbows in. And when you lower, you're keeping your back straight and your knees and your hips flex. You're not leaning over like this. I see people just gardening like that, and I can't imagine how they don't have back pain. So improper body mechanics is one leading cause of it. But the main cause of back pain is poor posture. There are 3 postural misalignments, right? So we can
I'm straightening up my posture now. I'm like, all right, let's shoulders back, chin up, chest out.
Exactly. But the way to ruin your posture is when you sit in a chair and your shoulders weaken and you're slouching. Let's say you're slouching now in your chair. When you go to stand up, there's no way you're going to stand up in good posture. You're going to stand up in the wrong posture. Also like this. So we want to learn the proper seated posture with the shoulders rolled back, chest up, chin in, back of the head lifted forward and up. Then the correct standing posture involves the pelvis. So with the pelvis, when you are arching your lower back, your stomach is protruding outward. In order to correct that, you would tuck the pelvis under. Have you ever heard of the pelvic tilt position? So you're pelvic tilting and you're zipping up the core muscles, and then you're in better posture. Shoulders back, chin in, and relax shoulders. So the method that I'm explaining is the Alexander method of good use of the body and good posture. So we would hold the arms out to the side and just let them float down while you keep and maintain that lift in your chest.
Yeah.
So,
you know what I just realized as you're talking? Like, I'm just changing my microphone position right now for the audience. I must have moved it about 4 inches higher than what the original microphone position was by sort of just following the basic sort of posture sort of positions, right?
Right.
Yeah, our lifestyle doesn't help, right? Sitting at desks and like hovering over our phones and like, in our computers. And I still have a standing desk and like a bar height chair. And that's another thing I actually want to ask you about chairs, right? If you got any recommendations on those. But there's, for me, it was 3-4 inches difference in correcting the body posture. Right, man. That's a big difference, right?
It's a big difference. Then I want to show you this, Greg. I have my computer on this stand. Notice the legs. It's about 6 inches. And this way you put all your devices at eye level, your microphone, your computer, your iPad, kids with their games, all should be at eye level. So with that problem now in our society with tech neck, the head weighs anywhere between 10 and 14 pounds. If the chin migrates forward 1/8 of an inch, it's like a bowling ball hanging over your chest. And then not only does your head come forward, so do your shoulders. And there we go again with that drooping plant posture. So in order to redo that, you would roll the shoulders back, keeping your device at the eye level and bringing your chin in with the back of the head lifted and the chest maintaining this height up. So there, you've improved your posture, your sitting posture, just by doing that.
You know what? It kind of feels a little uncomfortable, but I think
it's uncomfortable. I'll tell you what, You know what you could do? Get a rolled up towel or
stick it behind. Yeah.
And stick it right behind the lumbar area of your back. either horizontally or vertically. Let's say this is a pillow. I'm going to show you this later, but imagine this is a pillow. You can use it like for the lumbar area or the entire length of your spine, from the small of your back to the upper back. And that'll keep your back in good alignment while you're sitting. And it'll also reduce the amount that you slouch because you're going to be going in a reclining position.
So I was going to say, as you were talking earlier, you said one of the things is also like when people like twist, but they're not moving their hips. You know, I'm a golfer, I'm a tennis player, pickleball player. I would imagine that like, you know, people in their sort of hobbies, right? If they're not careful, if they're not rotating well, that's
Right.
part of the exercise in the discs, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what are the common type of back injuries? Like I was telling you mine, L4, L5, like do you see that like the lower back being sort of,
Yes.
call it 80% of the back pain versus sort of upper and neck?
I would say that it is about 70% is the low back. The upper back and the neck, it's pretty common too. Sometimes they go hand in hand where people have both. But you were talking about golf, tennis, and all the other sports. My advice is to condition your body before you go out onto the golf course or the tennis court by taking the racket or the golf club above your head and stretching side to side first, then arching back a few times and then rotating with it in front of your body. So you're getting used to the rotation with the extension. That's where the problem comes in. Rotation with extension. So you want to condition those muscles that you'll be using before you get there.
By the way, for the audience, you should go check out the YouTube, right? Because Roberta's doing all this demonstration, right? Standing up and doing it. So if you're not picking it up fully through the audio, definitely go and check out the video components of this. But super appreciate that. Let me ask you, if someone has a back injury, so call it mine, so that L4, L5, it could be a degenerative disc, which is just unfortunate, could have been sustained from an injury like a bulging or a herniated disc, or even just sort of the muscles around the lower back, they've been strained. What are some exercises people can do that will either alleviate some of that sort of sciatica, that back pain?
Right.
And maybe it's as simple as sort of stretching. And then from an exercise standpoint, what are some very effective exercises? And the reason I'm asking this is because, you know, sometimes we get into these exercises, they're not the right ones,
Right.
We're not improving, I give up, I get demotivated. So yeah, so what would be the correct ones to sort of focus on?
I would like to talk about the Feldenkrais method, and I'm going to spell it. F as in Frank, Eldenkrais. It is the most healing method for people who suffer from back pain because you do this on a mat, on the floor. I'm going to do it in my chair just to show you, where you would be in a fetal position and rolling your knees to one side while you unravel your upper body onto the mat. And you're involving your entire spine. You'll be able to detect any kind of small pain or areas of non-movement that you can move into or out of. So my advice would be never move into the area of pain. You would go forward a little bit before you move into a new area. But if you do this 2, 3, 4 times a week, you will notice tremendous progress. It is very important. Another thing with the sciatic pain, the sciatic nerve is lodged in the buttock. It starts in the piriformis muscle and the nerve goes all the way down to the heel. So there's a classic sciatic stretch done on a mat on the floor where you're lying on your back, pull one knee into your chest, then raise that leg up to the ceiling. And then you would bend the knee and drape that knee over the long leg while your head and arm are looking in the other direction. You will be stretching the sciatic nerve. So that's in the first chapter of my book, Back on Track, and you can find it there. The Feldenkrais exercises that I'm describing are in chapter 5. And I go step by step, easy to follow. Take the book with you onto the floor on a mat, and you'll be able to have a wonderful, comprehensive stretch for the entire spine, then one for the neck and one for the shoulders, where you're pulling in opposition. This is the Feldenkrais method. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I've used a number of those exercises as well. In fact, all 3 of them, and stretching from that standpoint, right? What about things like inversion tables, hanging boots? What are your thoughts on some of because by the way, if you're not careful, and it's how our phones listen to us for the internet, next thing you know, you're getting popped up all these back solutions and like, buy this product and that product. And there's a lot of shit out there. So
it's true.
If we were to recommend to anyone, like, hey, these are certain tools that you could use, what would you recommend?
It's funny because I did buy one of those inversion pieces of equipment for my gym, but I got rid of it because I was worried about the liability. Let's say, God forbid, somebody goes on and they're inverting and their blood pressure goes through the roof. Like, I think that's dangerous. I'm sure it's good. There's also something that we could do just naturally, like in yoga, they do the shoulder stand where your legs are up to the ceiling and you're just resting on your shoulders. That is an inversion of sorts, but you'll be able to gauge whether it's going to be beneficial or not, because if it's hurting, you're coming out of it. With the inversion table or whatever that apparatus is, it might be too late. I'm not recommending that. I recommend that people get to use their own body. And it's the mind-body connection, and feel what's going on into the upper back, middle, lower back. Where is your pain lodged and stuck?
So what are some of the holistic approaches people can take to not just reduce pain, but once again, heal and strengthen? Because I think that's part of it. And for the audience, like, you got, and Roberta, I'm sure you'll appreciate this. Like, when your back goes, everything's like seized, right? And the reason that's happening is because the back is trying to sort of protect itself. The muscles are in spasm, things are inflamed. The intention is to protect, but that is the exact problem: the inflammation, the seizing. So it's even hard to try to move in some of those areas. So from that holistic standpoint, first reducing the pain and then sort of strengthening, what are some approaches or what are some thoughts around that?
Okay. I wanted to tell you that another cause of back pain is under-conditioned muscles, which is very dangerous, because if you're going in to do any kind of activity, including a work activity that involves sitting for 6 hours a day, you are going to be vulnerable to having back pain. So I'd like everybody to think about a small mini home gym and buying on Amazon a little resistance band. And they're different strengths. And you would raise this up above your head and watch. I'm stretching through my chest and I'm toning the upper back. You're going to press open 20 times. And it's going to condition, look, your shoulders are moving, your chest is stretching open, and your upper back is toning. So you want to condition the upper back. Then you take it to the side. You can do so many things with this. And it weighs nothing. You just throw it in your suitcase when you're traveling and you got a mini gym. Then turn it into canoe oars and work the upper back. Look how on the diagonal we're moving the spine muscles, because postural rigidity can be debilitating. We want postural flexibility with light toning. So this is very good. Also light weights. It used to be that physicians would say, if you have back pain, avoid weights. That's not the case anymore. They say use weights, but light. So let's say women, 3 to 5 pounds, men, 7 to 10 pounds, even with back pain. And you're doing a whole upper body workout. You're strengthening the additional muscles around the spine, which is very helpful because the muscles of the back are wiry and thin. If you overload those muscles, you're going to get back pain. But if you have other muscles you can rely on, they work like a team. all the muscles help.
Right. It's probably great. One of the better pieces of advice I've heard for dealing with your back, which is, strengthening your, in quotations, paraphrasing, but strengthening your body, right? So you're not reliant upon it. And, I was thinking, like, it's not just sitting, it's like parents, bending down to pick up your kids, right? Bending down to play with your kids on the floor, right? You mentioned the gardener, right? I love gardening, right? It's probably the worst activity for your back, just because the way you approach it all hunched over and stuff, right? Yeah, I remember my grandfather, by the time he was in his 90s, he went from being a very tall man to a very short man. And he had that whole sort of, hovered over, like when you're walking, you're looking at your feet kind of thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's called kyphosis. And we want to avoid it.
Yeah. So I was going to ask about exercise. Is there such a thing as too much exercise for your back, or when's enough?
Yeah, there is too much exercise. Yes. If you're overly straining with heavy weights, a lot of bodybuilders love to bodybuild. And even with the weight belt and all of that, it might be too much. Here, the perfect number to exercise 3 to 5 times a week, maybe 6 if you really want to, for 45 minutes to an hour. After an hour, it could be the point of no return, where you're not getting much benefit more than you would from those 45 minutes to an hour. But what would you do during that hour or 45 minutes? Cardio, at least 20 minutes. They say if you work up a sweat 3 times a week, you're in good shape. And even if you're not sweating while you're walking or running, it's still good for the heart, because the heart, of course, is a muscle. We must increase the flexibility. As we age, we lose flexibility, and that's how the muscles shorten and contract. And we want to do conditioning muscles for the core and the back. That's like peanut butter and jelly. You strengthen the core muscles of your lower abdomen, you're protecting your back. You strengthen the back, and the core muscles will stretch. Well, that's balance. Like when you're tightening a bicep, you're lengthening the tricep. When you tighten the core, you're lengthening the back. Peanut butter and jelly.
There you go. I'm thinking about, I'm going to go hit the gym later today, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do some core today. As you're talking, I was like, I'm raving. I'm like, all right, this exercise is, because you're right? It's peanut butter and jelly. I think I like that analogy. Tell us a little bit about body formula. If people wanted to learn more about sort of some of the work that you do and your offer, tell us a little bit about the book Back on Track. Where can people pick that up? Let's start with those two.
All right. Well, I've had this company, Body Formula, since 1983, and it's really a healthy lifestyle company that combines ample exercise, proper nutrition, and stress reduction. Because stress is also a very big reason why people get back and neck pain. When you're under stress, everything tightens. So where you're most vulnerable, neck or back, is where the pain comes in. So my book talks about all of that. Proper breathing, exercise, the Feldenkrais method, and strength training and toning. You can see me on Instagram at Body Formula Fitness. My website is bodyformula.com. And I'd love for everybody to order my book on Amazon.
Awesome. And if you order the book and you like it, go and smash some of those stars, right? Because that always helps as well. There's the book, Back on Track. Cool. Very cool. Awesome. Well, this was very informative and insightful. Again, close to my heart, as I've gone through back issues for years, and I believe I'm on the other side of things now. And for the audience, I think Roberta said it best, which is this is about, preventing and, making sure you're doing the things in a way so you don't end up with back injury, because it's probably the last place anyone wants to be. It's really bad. Coughing hurts, lying down hurts, standing hurts, sitting hurts. I was actually I was delivering a leadership program several months ago, and there was one guy. He stood up. He's like, "I'm so sorry." He's like, I can't sit. And I'm like, back issue, sciatica, right side. He's like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" I'm like, "That's me, man. That's me." So I'm like, "You stand as much as you need."
Yeah.
right? At the end of the episode, we come to the most important question, which is the better human question. And I'm going to sort of add to that. So what do you think we could all do to be better humans tomorrow and have better backs?
Make yourself your own VIP and take it seriously. You are the priority, your body, your mind, your health. It's all up to you. And I always say, if you don't take care of your body, someone else will. So get a workout calendar and put your exercise routine in it for 5 or 6 days a week and check it off when you do it. Make it as important as you would a doctor's appointment. And then you'll feel so much better about yourself. You'll be able to help your family with whatever they need, and you will be a better human.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Roberta Bergman, thank you so much for being here today. To the audience, you could find Roberta on Instagram. Check out our website as well, bodyformula.com. We'll have, of course, all of her links and handles in the show notes as well. If you're interested in her book called Back on Track, go on Amazon that. And if you know someone that's got maybe back issues, nothing better that you could do for them than help them fix their back. So Roberta just might help you with that. Once again, thanks so much for being here, Roberta. To the audience, if you like today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Stay happy, stay healthy, keep your back strong, and we will see you next week.
Thank you so much for having me, Greg.